Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. It's FM18, yes, and I'm finally going to do a few playthroughs. I've got a few planned, and Game Changer will be coming back as well, and so will the FM Tactics show. But first, I need to find a team for the FM Tactics show for FM18. I will still continue some of the saves from FM17 because there might be people out there who still want to play FM17 and they still might need help, and I will continue with FM17. And if you need any help, then all you have to do is scream and shout, and I shall come and try and give you a hand. Now, what about FM18? So I've got save loaded. It's Ajax Amsterdam, and interestingly enough, when you first start with Ajax, the first thing you're gonna notice is you gotta go out there and get yourself a lot of stuff. And the thing about Ajax is this: I think it's a licensing issue, and I don't know very much because Miles has been very hasn't really given a lot of reasons why, and I suspect it's totally licensing, and that's the reason why when you go in, you notice it's a blank slate for all their stuff. So when you start with them, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are hiring staff for their team, because even their B team doesn't have any staff. So you need to go out there, you need to hire coaches, and you're gonna go in there and basically set up the entire structure for the club. It's not a big deal, I think. Makes it more fun. So there's a lot of things you need to do, and even the under 19s, if you go in and when you look at the staff, you'll notice there's certain things that are missing. So staff, the coaching team, you need to hire. And don't forget that while you're at this as well, you need to go and make sure that you hire your physios as well, because they don't have any. So this will be interesting. Okay, so apart from this, when I first start any save, the first question I'm going to ask myself is, okay, what can I do with my tactic? Now, different clubs have different conditions, and one I'm going to mention as well is this. I'm going to do a save with Columbus Crew as well, as this is in the MLS, because I've had requests to do an MLS save, and I will do one this season for the beta, and we shall do our best with the MLS save. And I'm going to invite somebody onto the show, and he's going to give me a hand. Right, so he's going to explain the whole MLS thing to me, because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with the MLS. Right, when I don't understand wage caps, I don't understand. Basically, there's nothing that I understand there. I mean, I understand that they have trades and they have a different setup, and the basics I do know. But as far as manipulating the save so that you can get the best start possible, that is definitely not in my wheelhouse. So I need to first understand what the MLS rules are. Today's show is going to be simply about when you start a save, and if you're going to end up with this page here on the tactical page, right? It's going to be blank. You're going to ask the assistant, and he says, go create a new tactic. Now, how do you decide the tactics you want to play? First up, the first thing I do, and this is something I recommend to everybody, you ideally want to have a way for you to analyze your team. Now, I have a system that I've used since FM. God only knows. I can't remember. I think since the days of Championship Manager, I reckon. But back then, we didn't have all these filters and tools. And over time, they gave us more and more stats in the game. So the more stats they gave me, the easier the game got. So it was really very easy for me. So what I recommend is when you go into your save, you have a filter sorted. Now, basically, it's not too hard to do this. They made filtering even easier this edition. You can insert columns now on the fly, and you can customize your current views, and you can add stuff in. But based on what I've written in my book, and over time with specific clubs, I tend to tweak my DNA profile. When I first start out, probably there's going to be as many as a list I can put in, because I need to analyze the whole team at a go, and I need to do it quickly. I don't like to waste too much time. So the first thing we'll do is I've written an article on the forums as well. It's a 12-step guide. Now, the 12-step guide simply talks about basically it's just steps that you take in general, right? And every league is different. So you're going to have certain leagues that have a higher demand, like the Premiership or La Liga, and certain leagues that don't have such a high demand. You could be talking about the S League in Singapore, for example, and attributes are definitely going to be relative to the league that you're in and the place that the competition that you're facing. So the first thing you want to do is do a comparison, right? I've spoken about this in all my shows. It's very easy. You just go to Team Report, do a comparison, and you will see from here what your comparison is like in terms of physical, mentals, and where your team stacks up. The most important thing to understand is this. You want to look at the most important attributes for defense and support first. I mean, you want to focus on what you have. The whole goal is you want to make yourself tough to score. You want to make it harder for teams to score against you. So first thing you focus is creating a solid defense. I mean, you find all the best coaches, Sir Alex Ferguson, they will focus on the defense first before they even explore trying to attack. So this is the best strategy. It's the one that works. So you don't want to go into the Jurgen Klopp school of managing Liverpool, because that's rock and roll football. Go out there and try and score as many goals. But here, what we want to do is understand our club and see what we're capable of doing. All right, so when I'm looking at Ajax, for example, and I look at my attributes, first thing I'm going to focus on for defensively, I'm going to look at positioning. Now, ignore determination, work rate, and bravery for now. Okay, you put these three as swing factors, you put it into one box. Determination, work rate, and bravery are very, very important. Determination, because it affects so many attributes in the game. It affects your boys' ability to develop over time. It affects how they play in a match as well. Work rate affects that too. Bravery determines how likely are your players willing to go in for a challenge. So this affects your support players, not so much attacking players. So you're looking at determination and work rate and bravery, but you need to understand the context that they're in. So you put them to one corner first, but first focus on the most important attribute for any defense and support category. That will be positioning. So positioning is actually a very important attribute, because you want to know whether the player has the brains to play in defense. So positioning becomes important. Then you're looking at things like anticipation, because you want your players to concentration, because you don't want them to have a snooze in the middle of a game and suddenly, oh shit, the ball's behind me. Good positioning may make up for bad concentration, but good concentration cannot make up for bad positioning, because if a player just knows, oh shit, yes, something is wrong, but he's in a bad position in the first place, he can't really help the team very much. So you want to make sure that positioning is important. Then you're looking at things like determination, concentration, and anticipation. These are important because determination, in fact, influences their desire to get back. Concentration influences how attentive they are during a game. Anticipation basically helps them read danger. So different kinds of players will give you different kinds of mixes. So it's impossible to find everything, right? So you're going to have to combine your players in your team. Some players may be very good at positioning, but they're not very good at they're not good at anticipating danger. Then some players might be very good at anticipating danger. So where do you place these players? How do you fit them into your squad? So you need to understand what your players are capable of doing. We're not suggesting that you go out there and find the best attributes, because that's impossible to do. I mean, if you're a lower league side, it's going to be a nightmare. So what you do is look at the attributes. The attributes tell you a story. Your job is to understand that story. Understanding that story will allow you to determine what kind of system you can play. So we are looking now at my squad. So there's a school of thought. I also belong to this school of thought, which is I don't give a rat's ass about my team. I want to play one way. I want to play my 4-3-3. So I want to play a 4-3-3 with Ajax. Okay, good. All right, this methodology can work with that as well, but you know your tactic. You know what you want to play. I want to play a 4-3-3 come hell or high water with Ajax. But regardless of whether you use any tactic, first thing you need to understand is what are your players capable of doing. So I know that my Ajax team wants to be competitive in Europe, maybe in the Eredivisie. I think that's how you pronounce it. Excuse me if I got it wrong. They may be the best, but in the Champions League, they're not. First thing I look at is positioning. 14, okay, 16. They got quite good players, but the guys on the wings, their positioning isn't that good. And in terms of anticipation, only one player stands out, Veltman. Now here, then we have to understand: can he play in every single game? You go into the medical center, you find out his situation. We know Veltman is injury susceptible. So all these will combine towards his availability in your system. So if he's playing in every single game, we don't have an issue, but he has to be the guy that is paired with other players. Then I look at his acceleration. He's 12. He might have good anticipation. He might have good positioning, but his acceleration does not make him the kind of player that can come in quickly and cover for somebody in case shit goes wrong. He is there, he can read the game. But during a quick transition, he might not get back in time, for example. So what we know, then what we do is we pair him with somebody else in terms of acceleration. Now, that's the first thing. But what about his ability in the air? Weltman's ability in the air, jumping is only 14. So my backline isn't that fantastic in the air. I got Vergiva, and then I've got another player called Maximilian Wober, whose jumping is only 14 and his heading is only 14. The boys at the back, Matthias, the light jumping reach is 15. His heading is 14, so he's okay, but he's also very slow. So this is a challenge for me. So now I know that at the back, I don't really have a lot of options for somebody to pair up with Weltman. In terms of the rest of the players, we actually have a decent team, but not fantastic at the back. Because if Weltman is not playing, then I have an issue. Because the rest of the players, in terms of their ability on the ball, they're nowhere near him they're nowhere near as good as he is as a defender. His anticipation is 15. He can read the game. His marking is half decent, but the rest of the players' anticipation is only 12. That's my snapshot in a quick hurry for my defensive players. This means that I would, against top really good competition, I will definitely need to start with a DM in this system. I still want to play my 4-3-3. I will plan on using a 4-3-3, but at least now I know my limitations. We need to put one player in front of them to protect them. The second thing that we need to do is to find out how our defensive midfielders do. So here we've got a snapshot of our defensive midfielders. Again, defending. Now here, this is where it gets tricky. Defensive midfielders' positioning is important. Off the ball is important if you want them to get involved in attacks. So while the defensive side is important, you also want to know whether you have players that are capable of adding something in the attack patterns. So in terms of positioning, when I'm looking at my defensive midfielders, here we go. We have 10, 12, 11, 14, 13. Again, it's a central defender that's is better than the rest. Oh dear. So now we know that in terms of my defensive midfielders, we now have a slight problem because my defensive midfielders' positioning isn't that fantastic. The anticipation is 12, 13. In Holland, we might be okay, but if we are to play in Europe, we will have a major issue because 11, 11, 13, 11, 10, 14, 13, 12. There's not a lot of speed, and a few of these are wingers. Frankie de Jong, he can't even tackle, so his positioning is 6. He's an out. He can only contribute something in an attacking sense, but the rest of the players, we have a major issue I need to address. In terms of defensive midfielders, the screen isn't solid. We have a few players in the form of Donny van de Beek, but that's it. That's where the story ends. We got Nick Vergiva. Again, the story ends with him as well. So we've got two really average defensive midfielders. They may be young. They may have lots of potential. This means that I may need to go into the transfer market. Then this is where I start to strengthen my team. We need one more defensive midfielder because even if we were to play, we don't have coverage if they get injured. So now we look at now what we are going to do, the second part of our analysis will involve how good they are in adding, bringing something to attack. So we've got positioning. Now we're looking at off the ball. Among these defensive midfielders, the next thing I want to know is how good are they at moving. So generally, I find that most of them are pretty good in terms of the off the ball. They all have decent off the ball, like 14, 14, 14. So this is good. This is good news for us. So while we are weak, we don't lack in players that can move off the ball and support the team in attack. In terms of acceleration, they may not be very fast. Off the ball kind of makes up with them because they can make themselves available for the pass. In terms of passing, they're all pretty decent, 14, 13. I mean, they're not fantastic. Skone, again here, he looks like he's going to be unlocking teams for us because he has passing, decisions, vision. He fits into a certain mold of a player that I can see. His pace is not good. His acceleration is not good. His strength is not good. He's just a player that can find a pass. He's just a nimble player with dictates tempo. The player trait I don't like is dwells on ball and tries to play way out of trouble. So we are going to not put him in a defensive midfielder slot because of two player traits that shouldn't be good for our game. One is dwells on ball and the other tries to play way out of trouble. We don't want him to play as a DM. We're going to look at him as an MC, probably an attacking player. Then we're looking at the rest of the players and we see that we have some talented players that can play and attack space. Here we have a potential playmaker in this side. With passing, decision and vision, not too bad. Off the ball, again, 15 makes himself available for the ball, so he can play in our system. So now, when I've analyzed my team, I realized that in terms from an attacking point of view, most of my midfielders, they're not too bad. In terms of my attacking midfielders, then I'm looking at the guys on the flanks that can play in these positions. I got Hakim Ziyech, who we've already seen. We got David Neres, not too bad. Off the ball, 13. He can play as a wide player and cut inside. Then we've got Justin Kluivert. He's a youngster with plenty of room for development. Of course, Kasper Dolberg. He's definitely going to lead the line. So when I'm looking at my players, I've already developed an understanding now of what they can bring to the table. We lack a strong central midfield. We need to bring a bit more steel to our central midfield. So the priority now becomes for our scouting. We got somebody that we have to go and look for a player that is experienced. All right, I'm just going to give them a short term. Okay, we don't have any scouts, so we'll have to wait for scouts to come in before we can even go scout for a player. But the goal has to be that we need to get a defensive midfielder into the side as quickly as possible. From a tactics point of view, we can see what we need right now. I'm going to be playing my 4-3-3 system. Okay, this is going to take some getting used to. Okay. Oh, dear Lord, I don't even know how to do this because this doesn't suit the way I play, but we'll have to make do with this screen. All right, so we know our goalkeepers, so our defenders have been set up, so we know Weltman is going to be playing in defense. Then we've got another defender here, Matthias De Ligt, who can play beside him, so these two will be playing together. Then on the flanks we got Luis Orejuela, who will be a wing back, and on the other flanks we got this player Mitchell Dix. We know our weakness. We already know our weakness. We can put our players into the system. This guy can be on the bench. Then I'm looking at my defensive midfielders. We know that we need one guy sitting at the base of our 4-3-3, and we know in my system here we have another central midfielder that we can slot in, will be in this position, and so we kind of know what we want from our tactic. So when I'm looking at my tactic, I've got several players already sorted out. I've got a wing back on support. I've got two central defenders. This position becomes a bit interesting. We have a slight problem with our team, but this is pre-season, so I just need to know how they play. So there's not going to be too many PIs, and I don't plan to have many PIs and TIs. Let me see a bit of a glitchy screen here. So we're going to avoid having too many PIs and TIs in our tactics. So we're just going to put the ones that I usually use with all my tactics. We got a Mazzala role here. So I'm going to use a Mazzala in this position. And this Mazzala has to be a player who's got flair, can pass the ball. And basically, Mazzala is like a role in the game which is extremely hard to fill. So, okay. This is not the plan. There we go. We got Lassa Skone. So I'm looking at him. I need a player who's got vision. I need a player who's got some flair. I need a player who's got decent balance. We don't have that kind of a player in our squad. But for our matches in Holland, we could get away with this. So I'm gonna try to use Lassa Skone as a Mazzala here. On the flanks, I need a playmaker. So I'm looking at either a playmaker or maybe we'll just turn this guy into complete forward and support for now, because we want to see how he does in pre-season. Then here we got Kasper Dolberg. On the right flank, we use a winger. Here we're going to use attacking playmaker. We got Hakim Ziyech. This is a bit strange. Now I want to look at Hakim Ziyech. No. This is annoying. Okay. So here we go. We got Daily Singraven compared to Hakim Ziyech. These two players. It's an option between two players. Well, Singraven Singraven, I think that's how you pronounce it. Dribbling, passing, vision and accuracy is not as good as Hakim Ziyech. So we'll start with Hakim Ziyech in this position because apparently he's much better than the player that we were looking at. So this is how I decide how my team is going to be set up for preseason. So here, from this point onwards, I start assessing my team during preseason to see how they fit. The whole idea here is to try and make sure that we get to know our players first before we try something else, because I already have my play instructions. I'm a bit more experienced in the game, so I kind of know what's going to happen. However, if I were starting this game for the first time and I wasn't too sure, and I want to see how my players perform without any play instructions, this is the best way to do it. So what you do is you remove all the play instructions from the game so that it does not cloud your assessment of the players, because what we want to do is insert these play instructions only after seeing a few preseason friendlies so that we can understand how the team plays. And that's how I would start my tactics out, with a team that I picked up for the first time in the game. And from this point onwards, it becomes exercise in watching the preseason friendly to see whether some players need some play instructions inserted to stop certain behaviors that are occurring. The most important thing now would be for me to understand my players, because player traits play a huge role in FM18, even more so than FM17. So the first thing you want to be doing is, whenever you create a tactic, you need to look at all their player traits. There are going to be some player traits that these players have that could affect the way they play. For example, here we have a winger on support. Now, if he has a cuts inside with both wings player trait, then he's going to cut inside all the time. He's not going to behave as a winger, so he's probably going to behave like an inside forward. So that's important for me to understand. So every single time I watch these games, I have to be paying attention to this so that it makes a lot of sense to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to go off and play a couple of games, and then on the next show we'll talk about how I develop the tactic further with this team to see where we can take Ajax to. So thank you for watching this show. If you have any questions, you know where to find me on Twitter @Bustthenet or addicted2fm.com, my website. Once again, I'd like to thank all my patrons for the continued support of this channel. You make these kind of shows possible for the rest of the community. So you guys take care. Have a good one. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.